Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the public, and welcome to this evening Development Management Committee meeting. We'll run straight into the agenda. So agenda item 1, apologies for absence and substitutions. I don't believe we have any. So declarations of interest, members. Anybody?
Yeah, sorry.
Councillor Souter.
Thank you, Chair. Non-pecuniary interest in 9, 10 and 11 as the county councillors for 9, 10 and 11 and also the district councillor for item 11.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
9 and 10 as a ward councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Garnett.
I've forgotten now, so I won't. Well,
Councillor Davis.
Yeah, I've got a non-pecuniary interest in item the Cleveland's. I think it's number 7. Because I'm a ward councillor.
Councillor Garnett.
sorry, Chair. Yeah, 7 and 8 as county councillor, Harlow North area.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Minutes, pages 4 to 6. Are they agreed?
Yep.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
Any matters arising?
No.
No. Excellent. We've got no written questions. So the procedure that we'll be utilising tonight for the meeting is, first of all, the planning officer will make their presentation on each item. We will then take comments from members of the public, a maximum of 3 for an application and a maximum of 3 against. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes or to a 450-word submission, which will be read out by one of the officers. Following that, the agent or developer will be given the option for the same chance to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes or 450 words. Following that, councillors will take questions and clarifications on the issues in the application, and then councillors will then debate and move to a vote on each application. Okay. Moving then to agenda item 7, which is the Cleveland's. If we could have the report, please.
Right, I'll share my screen. And, start the presentation. Hopefully members can see that, so please let me know if you can't see the presentation that's coming up on the screen now. Right, okay, I'll start at the beginning. Sorry. Application at 97 Cleveland. Proposal is for an erection of a single-storey extension. The site is one of a terrace, and there is a slope which runs from the south to the north. The proposal is this site in the middle here, which is a mid-terrace house. The site is in the Mark Hall North Conservation Area. The existing house has a conservatory, and the adjoining property here at number 98 also has a conservatory. You'll see that in the photo, and there is a change in levels that runs from south to north. So I'll just go through that. Shows the aerial photo. That shows the application. The proposal is for a 4 metre deep, 3 metre high, and it's set a single-storey extension, which is set 0.4 of a metre from the side boundaries. The proposed materials, there is a note on the plan which is just an extract from the plan, which shows the materials would match the existing, which shows the proposed rear elevation, and then shows the side elevations both facing number 98 and facing number 96. The projection at for number 96 is only 1.4 metres, and that's because there is a stagger in terms of the terrace. So this shows the existing property, and as I mentioned, there is this large stagger between the properties. It has an existing conservatory, and the adjoining property has another conservatory. So that's a bit further back, and again you can see the relationship to the adjoining properties. So coming to the main issues. The main issues are the impact on the character and appearance of the conservation area, and the impact on the amenity of the adjoining neighbours. So in terms of taking those issues in turn, the impact on the conservation area, the proposal would be similar to single-storey extensions that exist within the conservation area. The materials would match the existing building, so therefore there is considered to be no significant harm to the character and appearance of the conservation area. Taking the impact on the amenity of the neighbours, as I said, there is this slight slope along here. So in terms of the impact, in terms of number 98, which is to the south, there's already an existing conservatory, and there's also a 2 metre high fence on the boundary. The proposal will be approximately 1 metre higher than the fence and only 0.2 metre higher than the existing conservatory, so only just about up here. So it's considered that there will be no significant impact on the amenity of the adjoining property at number 98. In terms of number 96, I have already indicated there is this large setback, so the building will only project 1.4 metres. And it will also, for both properties, they'll also be will be set back from the boundary by 0.4 of a metre. So it's considered that there would be no significant harm to the amenity of either neighbour or the character of the appearance of the conservation area. So the recommendation is to grant. Thank you, members.
Thank you. We have no speakers on this item. So members, have you got any questions? Councillor Garnett.
Just the one, Chair, just to clear up any regard to the matching materials. Well, I suppose it's not a question here now, is it? Well, what I'm saying is, can we have a condition? It has been in the paperwork, as says there should be condition, but the little piece of paper doesn't really, or the plans don't really make sure that it is. So for avoidance of doubt or any confusion, I just suggest we do condition it as the materials will match, please.
Are you proposing a condition, Councillor Garnett?
I'm proposing that condition, yes.
Is that proposal seconded?
Seconded.
Super.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, debate, members. Anybody?
No. Well, it is overbearing, Chair. I would like to say that. Not very happy about it, but we're only talking about a metre, aren't we?
We are.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, in that case, we will move straight to the vote, members. So, so first of all, if we can take the vote on the extra condition as outlined by Councillor Garnett, which is the condition that the materials are in line with the current materials on the building. All those in favour? That is unanimously carried. Thank you very much. And then moving to the main recommendations on pages 9 and 10 of your agenda paper. So recommendations 1 and 2 with an extra one we've just added and the 2 informatives. All those in favour? That is unanimously carried as well. Thank you very much, members. Okay, if we could move to agenda item 8, Gavin, which is land to the rear of Acre Drive.
Right, okay. Open up the presentation. Bear with me. Right. Application land rear of the drive. This application is simply a variation of the existing approval to increase the roof height by 1.2 metres and include roof lights. I'll show that in a bit more detail. In terms of the application site, falls between the drive and Lavender Close. The drive has properties that do come down this side, and you'll see that in terms of my presentation. The site is so we've got 11 to 16. The drive 7A is here at the front. Number 8 has been redeveloped, and you'll see that. So that shows the redeveloped property at number 8, and the site is in here. The site is currently under construction. So in terms of the proposed block plan, this is the same footprint as the approval. The only changes are at the upper floors, and I'll show you that in terms of the proposed elevations. This plan quite clearly shows the change in terms of roof pitch. So this is the 1.2 metres. So all that is happening in terms of this proposal is the increase in height of this roof here. So that is the area on the end elevations that the adjoining residents would actually see. There is also the addition of roof lights to the front and to the rear of the properties. So it shows that roof level to provide 2 additional bedrooms, and you can see the roof lights shown on that plan. So these show the elevations as approved, and again you'll notice the no roof lights and the lower pitch. So this shows the relationship to the adjoining properties. This is number 7A, the drive. This is number 8 and 8A, the drive. And you can see the works are currently under construction. And this shows the relationship to 11 to 16, the drive. You can see it's under construction. So there is already an existing consent. And again, the proposal is about changing the existing permission. So coming to the main issues, are the impact on the character and appearance of the area from that change of the increased roof height. So as I've shown on this plan, the relationships are such that there's 14.4 metre different distance to the front of number 11. So this increase of 1.2 would not have a significant effect on number 11. There is an 18.6 metre difference between the rear of the property and the rear of number, I think it's 8 or 8A, 8, what was 8, the drive here. So there's already a significant distance in terms of the impact. So the increasing the ridge height and the additional roof lights would not be very much different to the existing situation in terms of windows you'd already have at first floor. You're only increasing them in terms of the height. And in terms of the relationship to number 7A, which is at the front here, the distance is over 25.7 metres. So in terms of the impact, there's impact on the character of the area, an impact on neighbours. In terms of the impact on the character and appearance of the area, the pitch is consistent with the character of the area, so it's acceptable. In terms of neighbours, it is similar to the existing relationships, and we're only talking about the increase of height of 1.2 metres. In terms of the relationship, there would be no significant harm to the amenity of the adjoining neighbours. In terms of other issues, there are other issues in terms of the current permission, and that is a separate matter for the consideration of this application. So overall, there is a recommendation to grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. If we could exit full screen. Great. So we have a written submission from Mrs. Perrin. Have you got that, Hannah?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Dear Sirs, with reference to the above planning, I do object to the points below. 1. Overlooking of my house and overbearing looking property. 2. Inspectorate's decision states that these properties would not need to use parking on highway, so appeal granted. This is making these properties larger, more occupants, more cars, as it is parking is approximately 24 feet away from my back door, so would need to use highway for parking. 3. Loss of sunlight due to higher roof line. 4. Wall removed was for access to site. Actual wall removed was greater than permission given. 5. Flooding, if you call a few centimetres of puddle covering your boots. 6. Officer's report states houses on the south side built between 7A is one of these houses built in 1960 and also has forgotten that there is a 7A and only refers to 7, 8 and 8A. 7. There has been flooding onto my property which has become much worse since development started. So tell me how this is not going to impact on my life. Hopefully one day this sort of upheaval will happen to you. Before, the council did not care one bit about the people that live in this area, how it was and is affecting them, and to say I have no evidence about any stream that runs underground at the rear of my garden, through allotments into Pitmansfield. Why don't you take a walk down the corridor or wherever the office is, or better still, send an email to the Environment Department as they clean the stream out each year in the allotments. 8. This roof level will affect me due to me losing light. It will be overbearing. The sun rises behind the houses in Lavender Close in the south, and I lose light in the summer approximately 4 p.m. It will cast a shadow in my garden, so I lose light. You can quote as many references as you like, but this case officer does not live in this area, or most likely this town, so doesn't know how it will affect me or others in this area. So yes, I strongly disagree with this amended planning, and I want it noted again that the tree in my garden I did not give permission to cut back. And as for the protective ground cover for the roots on this tree, the builder should have put down, I do not see it. 9. I know this comes as an over-emotional response, and yes it is, but this is how it has affected people. 2 couples with their children have already moved out of the area due to this planning. Well done, Harlow. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Hannah. Mr. Stone? You'll have 3 minutes, Mr. Stone. You need to unmute yourself, sir.
Good evening, members. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time. I've just listened to those objections. I'm just going to reiterate a few things. First of all, I think the officers covered it already, that you are viewing this as though the building has already been built. So the application is for a very minor change to the roof height. There is a considerable distance from the other properties, and I really don't see that it can, as a sort of 1.5 meters will have any difference on light or overviewing in comparison to with what has been allowed. And just addressing the parking, there's no objection from the highways officer, and this application is has the sufficient number of parking that is required. I think the officer's report is very comprehensive and really sums it all up. So I won't take any more of your time unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Questions, members? Councillor Souter.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at this, I can understand what's going on. What is the height of the houses in the drive compared to these ones? Does anybody know? Is it higher or lower than the drive?
In terms of the height, they are of a similar height to the adjoining properties. You can see the increase is only 1.2 meters. It is not a significant increase. There are properties that have steeper pitches, so it is not significant in terms of the difference that there would be.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Debate then? Councillor Danvers.
Thank you, Chair. I've had strong representations from residents in Lavender Close about this, and it's reflected obviously in the letter of objection that was read out. Could I make one thing very clear? It was not Harlow Council and the Development Control Committee that gave permission for this development. In fact, It was the reverse, is that they actually turned it down. It was the inspector that allowed this to go through. I'm still of the impression that the impact on the community is quite unacceptable. It was a quiet cul-de-sac, and suddenly all of this development is taking place. Trees have been removed, and I believe our enforcement officer has been requested to look into that matter. And also there are strong complaints from the area of work times. They're very blatantly being defied in terms of what was given as permission. And Sunday working is being alleged, and all kinds of work times outside of the schedule, given such an intensive residential area, I find unacceptable. So I think the applicant has brought themselves into some disrepute already in regards to the removal of the trees and in regards to the work times. I therefore think that the increase in height is something that would be unacceptable for the area, and I would move that we refuse this, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Danvers. Any other comments? Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. Two things here. I think Councillor Mike Danvers mentioned it about the working hours, which they're abusing. I'd like to not ask the officers, but find out why they're not taking any action over that. It's obviously been, as I understand, reported to them, but they've taken no action at all. And I think that's not fair on the local residents, and it's not fair on the committee. If we put working hours on it, that's the working hours. It's not for them to decide we'll work an extra hour here or there. I have an issue with the way this has come about. I know the principle of development is there because the planning inspector has gone against our wishes. But this, if you look at page 17, DW proposal, and this application is made under a procedure referred to as minor material amendment. Now, I can't see where the minor piece comes into this.
No.
We've got 1.2 metres higher and we've got 2 extra bedrooms. Okay, you could say, well, the internal development could be done on a permitted development, but they wouldn't be able to do it without the 1.2 metres going on top. So to me, they've gone from 2-bedroom houses to 4-bedroom houses, which in effect causes more problems for Lavender Close residents because of the extra traffic. So there's going to be more traffic. But the problem we have is the principle of it. And I'm not sure, we've got any strength in our argument that, 1.2 metres, it should be refused on that basis. I don't want to lumber the council with costs, but I can't support it, but I won't vote against it, I think.
Councillor Holcoop and then Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I totally agree. We didn't put this forward because it's been said the inspector did that and we were against it. When you look at the picture of the build so far and you look at what's been destroyed around it, I don't think that's a good thing either, because that's one of the reasons we turned it down. And I'm not inclined to, it might not be very high, but compared to the area it's in, it's going to be high enough. As Councillor Garnett has said, 2 extra bedrooms, that was not part of the planning to start with. I'm not happy with the times that they're operating under. There is a potential flood risk. And I just don't think this is a good plan at all. So I will not be voting this in. Thank you, Chair.
Davis.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I remember the debate very well we had before, and we tried to protect the residents of the area in the drive and Lavender Close, so we refused it. It wasn't us that agreed it. It was the inspector that turned it down. I think, I know it's supposed to be a minor amendment, but I think another 1.2 metres makes the situation worse. And I don't think we should accept this. So I would be voting against. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Clark.
Similarly, Chair, I'm very disappointed that the inspector should turn this down. I do not think it's a minor amendment, notwithstanding the arguments within the framework. And so I also will be turning it down on the grounds that it's out of keeping with the local environment, and it's 1.2 metres too high, basically.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Garnett, you're on mute, I think.
Just clarify something. The two previous speakers have said that the inspector turned it down. It was in fact the inspector allowed it.
We did.
It down, the inspector allowed it. I forgot to say that, you know, we need to put in the working hours again to make sure that,
Yes.
you know.
Oh, yes, sorry, I meant.
It's not on it.
I'll propose that.
So-
That's
so-
okay.
Look, if the view is it's being refused, I'm not sure there's any point putting working hours into it, but you're welcome to put them in and then vote against them if you want.
We should certainly do, yeah.
So are you proposing working hours?
Yes,
So
He's on mute.
you're on mute.
Yeah, I am proposing because it may be the committee decide
Okay.
to approve it. You know, so let's,
That's seconded. And what working hours are you proposing?
the normal working hours, which is what? What is it?
7?
Eight till 6,
Yeah,
Monday to Friday, and 8 till 1 on Saturday, and no Sunday or bank holidays.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Excellent. Okay.
yes. Second.
Right. Anybody else want to speak on it? Mike?
I think the point, Chair, is that if the motion to turn it down is not agreed, then the working hours
We'll
should
stay.
go in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favour of Councillor Garnett's amendment with regard to working hours? Thank you. That is unanimously carried. So moving to the recommendations on pages 21 to 23, recommendations 1 to 13, plus the informative 1 and the informative on the working hours. All those in favour? And all those against? And abstentions? Okay, that is refused. And if I understood rightly, the reasons for refusal were overdevelopment by virtue of the extra bedrooms and the height of the building causing an unacceptable detriment to the amenity of the conservation area. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, anybody that came just for those two, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but likewise, if you wanted to leave, the joys of having your phone hooked up to your laptop, you're welcome to leave as well. Thank you very much. Moving on, the Sainsbury's facility. If we could have the presentation for that, please.
Okay, I'll share my screen again. Find the presentation. Share my screen. Okay, bear with me. So apologies for this. And so open in a minute. Right, okay, so proposal is for
We haven't got anything on the screen yet, Gavin.
sorry. Okay, thank you for that. I'll try again. Sorry, sometimes these things are a little bit more difficult. So try that. You see that? See that now?
Yep.
Okay, good. Proposal here is for the Sainsbury's site in Harlow for a goods online facility. The proposal is for, as I said, a goods online facility, associated loading and servicing, and a click and collect facility. The site to the north of the town centre. You've got Hommerscold Road to the north of residential, Hoddings Road down this side. The proposal is in this area here. There is a change in levels between here and the residential properties on Hommerscold Road, which is primarily where the impact of this proposal will be. Obviously, there's changes to the access arrangements. This is the petrol station. I'll go through that in a bit more detail. Shows the aerial photograph of the site. In terms of the existing plan, you obviously have the petrol station, car parking, and obviously the main store. The proposal is to build an extension to the store with the goods online facility with room for 21 vans. With an access here will be the click and collect facility where you drive in and get your shopping. The facility will be open between 6 and 11 p.m. 7 days a week. That is different to the actual slots that will be offered in terms of both click and collect and when you get your shopping delivered. There will be no vehicle movements before 7 a.m. An important thing to note here is the footpath to Harmerscold Road, and I'll show that in a bit more detail here. This is the facility showing a bit more detail of the vans parked and the various fencing around that. I'll go through this. There's this footpath that goes down here, and there's the steps that lead to Harmerscold Road. I'll show you that in terms of the proposal. Members should note there is a supplementary report, and that followed some amended drawings that were also submitted, and these show the previous proposal for the northern elevation. This is the elevation facing Harmerscold Road, was for a 2.4 high metal palisade fence. That would be replaced by a 2.4 metre close boarded timber fence, which will be painted green. The other elevations, there has been just a change with regards to, this is the south elevation, which faces into the main car park and this is the click and collect facility. And you can see there's fencing with the vans behind, with the automatic swing gate when the vans come out, and this shows the superseded plans. So the eastern elevation, as you're looking back to the store, again a 2.4 metre close boarded fence, just changing the colour. And I'll come back to the fence on terms of the eastern elevation at the end. So there will also be a click and collect facility, and that will just have a simple canopy over the top, so people will drive up, get their shopping, and then drive away. The application site, just existing car parking, and you have this is the servicing. I'll show that in a bit more detail. The petrol station, and this is where the facility will go. That's looking back. This is a photo looking back from basically the top of the stairs, which I'll show in a bit more detail, showing back to the Sainsbury's store. So the facility was going in this area here. And that photograph was taken from the top of these stairs. These are the stairs to Harmerscold Road, which provide pedestrian access for the residents to the south. And you will note there's quite a change in levels here. And this is an existing piece of landscaping. And you can see the cars parked here. This is where the 2.4 metre high wooden fence will be located, which was previously a metal fence. So in terms of their amended plans, and this looks from the top of the stairs back to Harmerscold Road, and it shows the distance on which the residential properties are located from the existing service entrance to the Sainsbury's store. This is the service entrance, and these are the residential properties. So coming to the main issues, here are the impact on the amenity of the neighbours, the appearance, and the impact on traffic and highways. So in terms of neighbours, the nearest neighbours are at Harmerscold Road, are 30 metres from the site. There are various conditions which are set out on the supplementary report, which address the impact in terms of noise and disturbance of this facility. In terms of those deal with the issues of noise and disturbance. The fence on this boundary would make quite a significant difference in terms of the impact on the neighbours to the north, who are probably primarily impacted by the noise and disturbance from this facility. The applicants have submitted a detailed noise report, and it will show that there'll be a very negligible increase in terms of noise, and the council's environmental health officer is content with the measures being proposed. In terms of the impact on the character and appearance of the area, you have this essentially area that has been created as an extension to the existing store, plus this area which will be enclosed by a post-boarded fence. It's not considered this would cause any detrimental harm to the wider character of the area. This is a supermarket. There has been concerns raised with regards to the pedestrian access along this route here. We have got a plan. The applicants have confirmed this area, this footpath will be 1.7 metres, and they've also confirmed that for the eastern elevation, eastern side of the facility, they're willing. Just gone. The eastern side here, there is going to be will be a chain link fence rather than a post boarded fence. So that will enable views through into the facility. So that addresses the concern in terms of the impact on the character and appearance of the area. In terms of traffic movements, they will largely be within those hours and controlled by the store. So the vehicles will leave by the main access, by the main roundabout through the site. So it's not considered there will be any impact in terms of traffic and highways. So on that basis, the recommendation is to grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. We have a written statement from John Curry. Hannah, yeah?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Dear sirs, we refer to the applicant's drawing number PL-A-2006A, proposed site plan revised, and other relevant application documents. Further to your letter of 10th of March 2021 regarding the above planning application, we comment as follows. We do not intend to speak during the Zoom element of the public hearing of this application. Instead, we submit below our reasons for objecting to this application. Little or no consideration for pedestrian customers has been taken in this scheme. The above drawing is of too small a scale to give details of pedestrian access via Hammerscald Road, a popular if fairly adequate route from the Fifth Avenue development. What is needed is a large-scale detailed drawing to show the facilities proposed for walking, e.g. signage, lighting, passageway width, etc. As presented, we do not believe that the current scheme takes account of the potential hazards that could occur if the proposed compound is built as presented here. We think that the applicant is trying to squeeze a quart into a pint pot. We would like to see a reduction in the size of the compound, such that safe access for pedestrians is assured. We do not think that a closed boarded fence 2.4 metres high is consistent with customer safety. It should be see-through. We do not think that the walking route to and from the store entrance to the northern stairs has been sufficiently considered. Walkers will have to contend with normal parking, vehicles attending the proposed click and collect facility, delivery vans entering and leaving the home delivery compound, and vehicles visiting the recycling facility. All of the above compressed into a small area, a recipe, sorry. Whilst it might not be part of this application, we would like to think that the Highways Authority and the applicant had given some consideration to the access route at the junction at Hammerscald Road / Sainsbury's Delivery Access Road. No footpath here on a busy junction. We also note that no facilities are indicated on the document for the possibility of electric vehicles being used for home delivery. Surely an oversight. This is not consistent with the applicant pointing out that more home deliveries means fewer cars visiting the site. All in all, this application is at present inadequate. We do not oppose the expansion of home delivery and click and collect, but this should not be to the detriment of pedestrians. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Hannah. Caroline Hewitt, you'll have 3 minutes, Caroline.
Good evening, members. My name is Caroline Hewitt and I'm from Sainsbury's. As you've heard, we're hoping to create a groceries online facility at our Harlow store to meet the growing demand for home deliveries. Your officer has already explained what the proposals include, so I'd just like to take this opportunity to address the concerns from the Harlow Civic Society and Mr. Curry. Initially, when we submitted the proposals, we did miss the pedestrian access to the residential area to the north. And as soon as we realised this mistake, we revised our plans to clearly show this access being retained, along with a safe and easy route to the store. The width of the proposed access footpath is going to be 1.8 metres wide, and it includes a new zebra crossing. We'd be happy to provide a chain link fence rather than a close boarded fence along the boundary between the service yard and the footpath to encourage overlooking and to provide some natural surveillance. We're also happy to provide additional lighting and CCTV if it would help. With regard to the question of the electric vehicles being used for home delivery, this is something we were trialling in London before the pandemic, and the pandemic has put that on hold for now. But our target is to have all electric vehicles for our home deliveries in the next 4 years. We've worked really closely with your officers to deal with all aspects of this application, and your officers have now been satisfied that the planning permission should be granted, and I'll hope you'll support that recommendation for approval. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Caroline. Questions, members? Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. I know there was a supplementary, and I've got a feeling I read it, and the lady there, well, I've forgotten her name. She's disappeared off it. Yeah, Caroline talked about CCTV and lighting. Is that going to be conditioned, please?
Yes, there is a condition with regard to light. There is a condition with regard to lighting.
Not CCTV.
Not CCTV, but we could add that into the condition if members.
Well, Caroline was happy to give it, but let's take it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Davis?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've been down to the site and I've used the recycling facility there, which I think is wonderful. While we've got the agent here that's acting on behalf of Sainsbury's, can I have some assurance that that facility that's been like moved at the moment or taken away will be put somewhere else so people can enjoy that facility that Sainsbury's give people? Thank you.
I can double check that and come back to you, Mr. Davis.
Okay, any other questions, members? No? Debate?
Well,
Councillor Clark, question or debate?
a question. Sorry,
Yep.
sorry there. But I just wanted to ask the officer whether he felt that the response was adequate on the pedestrian access that John Curry had made. Because I thought that myself as we were going through, and I'm personally convinced by the agent, but I want to make sure that it is an adequate response to the issue.
As I identified, the eastern elevation will have a chain link fence, so that provides more openness. And also, there will also be the width of that footpath will be a minimum of 1.8 metres, as the agent has just stated. So that's quite wide and quite open. So the other side, where the petrol station will remain, so there will be a suitable pedestrian environment being created.
Okay. Debate then, members. Councillor Danvers. Your hand was up first.
Thank you, Chair. I preface my remarks by saying I have no brief for Sainsbury's, nor have I any brief for online shopping. Having said that, from the 60s, the times they are changing, and the benefits to the wider community of Harlow, I think, far outweigh any risk to local residents. The only thing that I would actually limit that on is to say, I think we've been told by officers that we could not set time limits. It would be disappointing if things start too early in the morning, particularly at the weekend, and it would be disappointing if things go on too late at night to cause disturbance in the area. But I think the whole scheme would benefit the wider community of Harlow. And secondly, obviously, I assume it would increase employment. People will have to be employed to staff this facility, as well as I assume the drivers will just be taking shorter journeys than they are at the moment. So environmentally, there might be some benefit as well. So all in all, Chair, as you gather from my comments, I will be supporting the proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Danvers. Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. Gavin, sorry, the officer. Gavin, can you put the plan up, the overhead, where the overhead plan with all the parking and where it is? Is that possible? It's almost the last one. It was just a comment here that you've got, it's like one of those puzzles, isn't it? You're going to have to move 2 cars to get a couple of vans out, and then a couple of cars to get other cars out. So it sort of obviously, as John Curry said, you know, you're trying to put a quart into a half-pint pot. But it was just a comment on that, you know, as to, you know, they put the parking spaces in, but they can't get the vans out afterwards.
Great minds think alike, Councillor Garnett.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as an ex-HGV driver, it did look a bit crowded to me. But I mean, I'm guessing without getting a comment from the agent, this would be the overnight position. Clearly, as they start going out, they would load them up and move them out. But yes, there is a little bit crowded. They might possibly not even have all of them there to start with. Councillor Hardware.
Thank you, Chair. It agrees me to say that I have to agree with Councillor Danvers. This is the way life is going, the world is going. Home delivery is here to stay. Electric home delivery is going to happen, as I think Caroline said, in the next 4 years. And I think we should support it. So on that basis, I will be supporting this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanisha, you've got your hand up. Did you want to come in?
Yes, Councillor. I was just going to say there is one of the councillors mentioned that we had suggested we couldn't restrict the hours of operation, but there is a condition that restricts the hours of operation, and there will be no vehicle movements before 7 p.m. And after 11 p.m. Yeah,
I think it was more Councillor Danvers was hoping to restrict them further on a Sunday, but yes, I think he was thinking about Sunday trading hours. Councillor Clark, I think you wanted to come in.
No, I think not.
Are you done? Councillor Livings.
Thank you very much, Chair. Well, I certainly would be supporting this. Many people now are doing online shopping, and it's getting more and more popular as things go forward. And yes, I think Sainsbury's, the other stores in the town, most of them have got some form of online shopping. So I think it can only be a good thing, and I will be supporting it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Holcoop.
Thank you, Chair. I also will be supporting this. The only thing that I'm a bit disappointed about, and it's not Sainsbury's fault, is the electric van, because, you know, you're building a new site here. It's an ideal opportunity to put the electric vans in straight off, but that can't happen at the moment. But I will certainly be supporting this because of the jobs it's going to bring, and it's going to benefit the town as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, members, if we are done with the debate, we'll move. Sorry, Councillor Clark, you did want to come in.
Yes, I'm sorry. I agree with the earlier comments, but the other aspect is that it's been argued that, oh no, sorry. Yes, sorry.
You happy to move to the vote, Councillor Clark?
Actually, I'm sorry. I was going to raise a question of the traffic congestion and so on, which is clearly in one sense is a possibility, but on the other hand, it can be argued that the more vans there are, the fewer cars will be used. And that's the only thing I was going to mention. I apologise for that.
No problem, Councillor Clark. Okay then, members, if we can move to the vote. The The recommendations are in your supplementary agenda. So recommendations 1 to 8 in the supplementary. All those in favour?
Sorry, Chair, is that including the CCTV and lighting?
No, it's not. Did you? Sorry. I apologise profusely. Did you? Have you moved that and had it seconded?
Well, I did move it. I don't know if I've seen.
I don't think anybody did. Somebody want to second it? Maggie? Yep. Okay. So a vote on Mike's supplementary with regard to the CCTV and the lighting. That is agreed. And then the recommendations in supplementary with the addition of Councillor Garnett's supplementary. All those in favour? That appears to be unanimously carried as well. Thank you, members. Before we move on, members, I've just been advised that we need to take a vote again on the last application, as it's not actually in the conservation area. So the reasons for refusal was O development due to increased height and overall design will be out of character of the area and contrary to PL1 and H2. So if we can move to the vote on that again, members, all those in favour? Of accepting that? And all those against?
I thought it wasn't a conservation area.
Bill, can you be clear?
So we're voting on whether to accept the proposal or to refuse it. And if we're refusing it, it'll be based on what I've outlined as the refusal. So all those in favour of the application? I don't think you are, Councillor Clark. Pretty sure you refused it last time. All those in favour of accepting the application?
Oh, sorry, no, I'm not. Thank you.
And all those against? Okay, that is refused. And the basis of the refusal?
Yeah, we
and abstention, sorry.
Yeah, 3 of us.
Okay, it's still refused because nobody voted for it. And the reasons for refusal are the O development, the increased height and overall design will be out of character of the area and contrary to PL1 and H2. Right, sorry about that. Moving back to the agenda paper, East End cottages. We got the report for that one?
Right, okay, hopefully this one will, hopefully you'll be able to see this one. Do shout if you can't see the presentation. Hopefully I'm getting better at this. Yep. This is good. Application at 3 East End Cottages, Roydon Road. The proposal is retrospective for the excavation of the front garden embankment, erection of masonry retaining walls, and to form an area for car parking. You'll see that when I go through. Application site on Roydon Road. You should note the relationship. This is an end of terrace property. Group of cottages 1 to 5. At the front here, you have a lay-by which provides parking for the properties. Number 1 already has its own parking area, off-street parking area. This is to provide a parking area. This has provided a parking area for number 3. Number 4 is obviously a separate property. I'll come on to that in a bit more detail. Shows the proposal in a bit more detail. You'll note there are stairs going down to the lay-by. I'll show that in terms of the photograph, with a retaining wall, with retention of the flowering cherry behind the retaining wall, with 2 car parking spaces. This shows the extent of the highway and the lay-by in front of the properties. The application site has been drawn around the property, and all the works are contained within the application site. You will see the proposal also involves creation of an access up to the boundary with number 4. So the previous plan has been superseded. Previously, works were proposed outside the red line, and now the works all are contained within the red line of the site. And the applicant has confirmed that the applicant owns all the area within the red line of the site. Shows the terrace front garden, the flowering cherry tree, the steps. It's easier probably to see what is actually being done. And this shows shows number 3 here, number 4 is here. You can see the steps that have been put in, the retaining wall, the flowering cherry is yet to be put in. You can see the adjoining properties at number 1 has its own off-street parking area. And you can see in front, this area in front here, where this car is parked here, is the lay-by where people park. This is uncontrolled. Shows the relationship between number 4 and number 3. You'll also note there is a change in levels between number 4 and number 3. So number 4 is slightly higher, and with regard to the other properties, they do slope down. So this, as you see, this is the stairs, and this is the access that provide the access to number 4. I'll show in a bit more detail. The access, these steps come up to a flat area here, and then go through a gate beyond, and I'll show that in a bit more detail. It's relevant, and I'll show you that. This shows the stairs that come up to a flat area with a gate that goes on for beyond, with an access that goes up to number 4, and beyond here there is another set of steps that go down into number 3. And I'll show you those are those steps. So this is where that gate was, and that was I was looking from beyond this gap here. So this is a set of steps that have been put up to the landing area in front of number 4. All this work here is within the site, within the application site. Shows in a wider view. So coming to the main issues here, as I've indicated, the objections that have been received primarily from number 4 have been largely to do with land ownership issues, and those fall outside the scope of this planning application. The applicant has indicated that all works that have been taken out are within their ownership, and we have investigated and we are content that that is the case, and there has been no evidence to suggest otherwise. In terms of the main planning issues, the main planning issues are the impact on highway users and the impact on the character of the area. So taking those in turn, in terms of the impact on highway users, it's accepted that this will change the use of the lay-by, which is shown here at the front. The advice from the Highway Authority is that vehicles leaving here and across the lay-by would not cause any harm to highway users, so there is no objection and there's no reason on which to refuse the application on highway grounds. In terms of the impact on the character of the area, as I showed earlier, there are other examples of parking areas along here. In terms of number 1, the arrangement is similar to 2, so it's not considered these changes to the front garden would cause harm to the wider character of the area, so it's considered to be acceptable. So on the basis of those 2 issues, the recommendation is to grant. Thank you, members.
Apologies, I was on mute. Any questions, members? Councillor
Sorry,
Clark?
Chair, sorry to interrupt. Just as a reminder, there are 2 speakers.
Oh, I do apologise. Kim Jaku, who is on Zoom. Kim.
Correct. Hello.
You'll have 3 minutes, Kim.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak. It's not something I've done before, so I hope I articulate myself in the right manner and address people correctly. I have written something which I will read from or use as a basis for today. I'm speaking on behalf of Deborah Winter, who is the long-standing tenant of number 4 East End Cottages. Due to ill health, she's unable to speak for herself at the moment. The works have been undertaken at 4 East End Cottages, have removed a right-of-way to both number 4 and number 3. The right-of-way was confirmed by the Council of Estates team, and we were informed today. It was a sloped path that provided access and disabled access, as well as enabling the wheelie bins to be taken down for collection, and it was located directly across the front of number 3. So where you saw the van parked, that was where the path came sloped across. The former tenant of number 3 was registered disabled and used the path as her main means of access to the property. Even Robert Halfont has used it when he's visited Mrs. Cooper as well in that area, who was the tenant. Miss Winter suffers from seizure-like episodes, which impact her ability to walk when they occur. With the right-of-way or the disabled access removed, which was sloped, she'll be unable to leave or access her property as she cannot manage steps when she has experienced seizures. The steps that you saw that had been in the photographs that had been built in, the additional steps, have been built where the slope used to go up to the entrance to her property. There have been occasions where she's needed to use a wheelchair as well in order to get to and from her property. And this has only been possible because of the path access. Obviously, with the challenging times that COVID has presented, the need to leave the property has been less. But obviously we have freedom fast approaching, so that will change. Interestingly as well, in the planning application, there's no mention of this shared right of way as having even existed, let alone been removed. Also, the boundary of number 3 in the planning application is not the same as the one on the land registry. In addition to what's shown in the planning application for number 3, there's also a strip of additional land that's on the other side of where the path used to be and goes against the lay-by. And it's broken from the main property at number 3 by this right of way that was there. The land registry plan clearly shows the right of way as not being owned by number 3, but it's not indicating the planning application has been removed. The access has been removed. Surely there was a statement made to say that all of the works were happening inside of a property boundary owned by number 3, but I don't believe that to be right if the right of way went across the front of there and wasn't owned by it. The owner of number 3 has put in additional step access, as I mentioned, but this has meant there's now 2 sets of steps to go into number 4 and no slope, which provides no disabled access. Sorry.
Up, please.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, basically that's just to reinforce that point and the disruption it causes to the refuge collection, which is also not possible. Thanks for listening. As you've probably noticed, I could go on for hours, which I won't. It just feels extremely unjust that this right of way has been removed from property that we don't believe belongs to number 3, sorry. And based on that, she wants to have some form of disabled access reinstated for her property.
Thank you very much. Mr. Southgate, you'll have 3 minutes, Mr. Southgate. You're on mute, Mr. Southgate. You're talking, nobody can hear you. You need to unmute yourself. Sorry. That's it.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, sorry. Good evening, Chair and fellow councillors. The applicant acquired the property from Harlow Council in April 2018, at which time it was somewhat run down and internally and externally. In the knowledge that number 2 had formed an off-road parking refuge in 2010, the applicant decided to implement a similar arrangement. Having commenced the works, it came to light that he was undertaking partially outside his own ownership. This came about because the transfer plan accompanying the property sale was at such a small scale and lacking dimensions, which resulted in the works encroaching within the highway's maintained land. We've subsequently been in discussion with Essex Highways to ascertain the agreed boundaries between the property and the highways, and also to agree details for the dimensional layout and surface finishes. In addition, liaison has been taking place with Essex Historic Buildings and Conservation to ensure no harm will be forthcoming. The result is the amended arrangements before you, which provides a solution entirely within the applicant's boundary site and that is acceptable to both Essex Highways and Essex Historic Buildings and Conservation. And furthermore, no adverse impact upon amenities of adjoining properties and the settings of nearby heritage assets. It is noted, however, that although the applicant does own the full land within the red boundary, there is a right of way from or across that land, but it does not necessarily mean that it has to be for disabled access or any other access. It was originally, the front area was originally, and unfortunately the planning officer hasn't shown photographs, but we provided photographs of 2016 when the whole of that area was in fact hedged. I therefore encourage you to concur with the officer's recommendations and conditionally approve the application, Chair. Thank you.
Very much. Questions, members? Councillor Garnett.
I forgot.
Thank you, Chair. It's one of those difficult ones. There seems to be dispute here as to who actually owns this piece of land, and looking at photos that have been sent through, it goes against what Mr. Lynch or Chris Southgate is saying, that there apparently was a hedge there, and behind the hedge was a pathway where things were kept for some time. So I suppose I'm sort of jumping the gun a little bit and say, well, we need to get clarification here. I know we could say, well, we could approve or disapprove it and let them go to civil court, but
So if I could just jump in briefly, and remind members what we're here to do.
I know.
So we're here to assess a planning application. We're not here to adjudicate on land ownership issues, which are without the purvey of this committee. So all we can do is look at the application and rule on its merits. Whether the applicant owns the land or not is kind of irrelevant, as members are well aware. So I am quite within my rights, for instance, to go and put a planning application in to knock down your house. And if it's granted, I won't be able to do it because I don't own it. But I have that opportunity to do that. We can't get involved in issues of land ownership because they're not asked to adjudicate on. Clearly, they will need to be resolved, but they aren't to be resolved by this committee.
I can only agree with you. I've said that before, but the problem we have here is he's already done the works, or most of the works. So he's taken land which may not be his.
I agree, and potentially that's an enforcement issue. Again, that's not a material factor to determine this application. So may there be an enforcement issue to be done? I don't know, but if there is, then it should be done. That's irrelevant of whether we grant this planning application. If they don't own the land, then clearly there's. Sorry, I'm not going to be bringing you back in, Mr. Southgate. But that's not to be decided. Okay, what we're here to decide is, does this planning application have any reasons for refusing it? Not whether the ownership is an issue or anything else. That is an enforcement case and will be dealt with. Should anybody object to it, which I'm sure they are, through the right processes, will be dealt with in that manner through enforcement. Councillor Danvers.
I accept what you're saying, but would you please allow me to ask just one question? Is number 4 a council house or a private house?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
It's a council house. She's a long-standing tenant who's been there in excess of 20 odd years.
Okay. So
could I then comment, Chair? I find it quite appalling that council officers have not been able to actually ascertain our interest as a council before this planning application has come forward and given us some legal advice. There's obviously a conflict of interest as far as I'm concerned if it is a council tenancy, and I agree with Councillor Garnett, and I think we should defer the issue.
Councillor Clark.
Yes, I was going to suggest that right from the beginning, Chair, that we should defer this and establish ownership, especially in the light of the fact that number 4 is a council tenant. Your argument holds to a certain extent, but you can't make a decision, but it makes a decision on your planning decisions if you know whether the land is owned or not owned.
The problem we've got is, regardless of, if you defer this, it's already been built. Okay, so the issue, if there is enforcement action to be taken, then I would expect the council, as the owners of number 4, to deal with that.
Well, they should have dealt with it before, Chair, but they
may or may not, Councillor
drawn their attention to it. The only way they're going to do it is if we actually draw their attention to it.
Well, I'm sure they'll be well aware of it as a result of tonight's meeting, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Tanusha, did you want to come in?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Through you. So, councillors, we have investigated this at length. Our colleagues in estates are aware of the situation, but we can only operate within the Town and Country Planning Act, and ownership is not a material consideration. If we defer, if you decide to defer, you can do. If you're asking us to establish ownership, we can do, but that is not a material consideration. You can't refuse or approve an application based on who owns the land. What we need to do is assess the application on its merits.
So look, I don't mind deferring it, but what are we deferring it for? As I say, if there is enforcement action to be taken, then that should be taken. But that's irrelevant of what we decide with regard to planning. Councillor Garnett.
Else wants that. But the point I've tried to make at the beginning, I agree with you entirely. You know, I could put an application in to build flats on Buckingham Palace.
You could.
But the point here is that Mr. Lynch has already done the work.
Correct.
So he's that step ahead of Mrs. Winter.
Correct. But if there's an enforcement case to be taken and those enforcement officers tell him that he shouldn't have built it to start with because of the ownership, he'll have to amend that, won't he? Regardless of the plans. If he doesn't own the land, he can't build. It will get taken down. Tanusha.
So, Councillor, the fact that the applicant started the work just means, as Councillor Wade has said, if enforcement action is taken, the penalty is more severe, because it could be that the applicant's asked to take down all of the works, which is a lot more costly. It doesn't mean that the applicant's going to get away with anything if he's done it wrong, but that is not a matter for this committee. We have to decide the application on the material considerations.
So, any questions on the actual application? Sorry, Ms. Southgate, I'm not bringing you back in, okay? So, any questions on the application itself? I know members have been moved to defer it. What would be the reasons for deferral? Because I can't think of any.
Yeah, on the basis of what you said and explained, and just as said to us, we can't defer it. We have to let it go ahead, approve it. It's difficult to...
Well, you can approve it or refuse it, but
yeah,
you need a reason for deferral is all I'm saying.
We need a reason to and we need a reason to refuse it as well.
So,
and that's again just as difficult. So yeah, we have to rely on the council taking the action they should be taking. And I think I can only go back to, you know, Mike, Bob, yourself, and Jean and Maggie to make sure they do the job. You know, whichever one. Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
Councillor Holbrook.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Maggie.
Okay, sorry. We've got no planning grounds to be able to refuse this on. We've got to rely on the council officers in another department to see this through to whatever end it takes. So all we can do tonight is agree the plan application. Otherwise, we'd have to come up with ideas, which I can't think of any, to refuse it. And unless it's planning grounds, I don't think we've got any. So I think we've got to vote on it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Clark.
Well, we could take a few reasons. One is the loss of part of the lay-by for number 4, which is directly related to that. The loss of a boundary hedge. How would that be?
Well, shall we move to the vote? And if it's refused, then obviously you can come up with reasons for refusal. Councillor Clark.
Okay.
Yeah. All those in favour of recommendations 1 to 8 on pages whatever, it must be 34 of your agenda papers. So all those in favour of the recommendations and all those against? 1, 2, 3 against. Abstentions? That is refused. So reasons for refusal, as outlined by Councillor Clark.
Sorry, Chair, through you, I don't understand the reasons for refusal. Councillor Clark, could you please elaborate?
Pardon?
Could you please elaborate your reasons for refusal?
Yes, I would hope that the officers themselves could manage to.
Councillor Downs.
However, what I said was the loss of the lay-by
and the hedge
access, and also the loss of the hedge.
Could the planning officers also tell us other reasons, please?
Councillors, it's for you to come up with the reason for refusal.
No,
I
it
can
is
fashion
not.
it.
Yes,
it is,
not.
Councillor. Yes, it is. If you have refused the application, you'll need to tell me what the reason or what the merits are you're refusing it on. I can help fashion a reason for refusal, but you have to tell me what exactly you're refusing the application for.
Well,
So, Councillor Clark, I have the loss of the lay-by and the loss of the hedge. And what is that to the detriment of?
Pardon?
And what is that to the detriment of?
Well, you know that the loss of a boundary hedge itself is something that we actually.
Character and identity of the area, Councillor Clark.
Well, yes, thank you. That will do nicely. And also the loss of that the partial loss of the lay-by, which affects the access to number 4, and therefore leaves number 4 with no feasible exit.
Okay. Thank you, members. Moving on to number 16, Burnett Park. If we can have the presentation for that.
I'll see what I can see if I can find the presentation. Bear with me, members. Sorry, excuse me. Find the presentation. Bear with me, members. Bear with me. I'll find the presentation and then I'll come back to it in a minute. So bear with me. I'll just find the presentation. It is. Bear with me. Right, okay, members, I have found the presentation and you should now be able to see that. Hopefully you can see that. The application is, again, a retrospective application for the installation of Juliet balconies at 16 Burnett Park. 16 Burnett Park is a detached house at the end of Burnett Park. There is a quite a significant change in levels from 16 Burnett Park down to Parington Road this way, and also towards the Maples in terms of 173, 172, and onwards. So there's a change in levels this way to the north, and this way, and also this way. There has been quite significant in terms of the proposal. The proposal here is to extend the depth of these windows, which I'll show the layouts, and install these Juliet balconies. Juliet balconies are glass balustrades, 6 millimeters, opaque glass with 25 millimeter by 25 millimeter stainless steel supports. So these Juliet balconies do not project before. They just allow the windows, the larger windows, to be opened from the inside. And as I said, they serve the master bedroom, a bathroom, and another bedroom. So the balustrades, as shown here, do not project beyond the existing windows. So windows would obviously open inwards. So in terms of the previous approved scheme, showed the windows. So these windows have been extended downwards. Extending windows in existing properties is something that would not require planning permission, but it's included within this permission because obviously it's for the balustrades. So this shows the previous permission showing the same arrangements. So in terms of what has actually happened, it's as I said, it's retrospective. You can see the windows in question. The balustrades would then go on in front of each of these windows. This shows the view from one of those windows. You'll note there's an existing screening on the boundary, and you'll see this is number 173, 171 with the projections at the rear. So the relationship in terms of here is the key issue. So this is the view from bedroom 2. So the main issue here is the impact on the amenity of the properties here at 172 and 173, the Maples. The issue is whether the increase in the size of the window and the Juliet changes the relationship in terms of if somebody was standing at that window, would it make a difference in terms of the impact on the amenity of those properties? There it is considered that the fact that there is a Juliet balcony does not change the fact there's already a window there. So there would still be an impact in terms of amenity that's already been approved. So the hedge and the distance involved here and the change in levels. It's considered the change to balustrade to the Juliet balconies and the increase in the height, the size of the window would not result in additional harm to the amenity of the residents here. So on that basis, the recommendation is to grant. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a number of speakers on this. So if we could start with Michael Devine, I believe there's a written submission.
Thank you, Chair. We have lived in the Maples for 33 years and chose this particular house because it wasn't very well overlooked. So when we saw the plans for the large 2-storey rear extension at 16 Burnett Park, we weren't very happy about being overlooked so much and objected, but planning was granted. However, as the build progressed, we noticed that the small windows in the original plans had been completely ignored and huge patio doors in its place with no consultation with anybody. I brought this to the attention of Harlow Council Planning Department, and lo and behold, a few weeks later, an application for retrospective planning permission was introduced. This obviously brought to mind that they didn't include this in the original application because they felt it might not get approved. So we'll put them in anyway, and if anyone objects, we'll put in for retrospective permission. And as they have already been installed, the planning department will give its approval. Fait accompli. The revised plans are for 3 Juliet balconies, but I think they should be referred to as 3 patio doors, which although the location of the windows has not changed and the width is the same length, is double the size of the original windows. The relationship between the host and the neighbouring properties has changed completely, and you can see straight into each other's houses. And from our point of view, this completely changes the whole aspect of the property and drastically impinges on our privacy, well-being and mental health, and we strongly object to this alteration. The other consideration is of course noise. The noise emanating from the property over the last couple of years has been quite high, and an official complaint was made to Harlow Council last June with constant dog barking and very loud offensive music being played, and we think that this will only increase with the large patio doors being open in the summer months. We've also requested a visit from a member of the planning department to come to our property and see things from our point of view, but no one bothered to get in touch. Thank you for listening to our side of things and that you have had a balanced view. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Hannah. Georgina Butler, you'll have 3 minutes, Georgina.
Hello, good evening. I'm going to read from something I've prepared already, so I hope that's okay. Firstly, we apologise for having to put in a retrospective planning application. We were not aware that changing the windows slightly and adding a Juliet balcony would require planning permission. And as soon as we were made aware of this requirement, we called and spoke with Harlow Council and submitted a retrospective planning application showing this request. We also stopped any further work being done on the rear of the house. We have read the concerns from the neighbours to the rear of our garden, and we would like to stress that our view of their garden has not increased at all. Our windows do not protrude past the agreed planning from Harlow Council any closer to them. The only difference is the windows are now taller. This has not given us any advantage to viewing more of their garden. We have the same view we would have if we were looking out from any other window installed. Our reasons for wanting a Juliet balcony is for aesthetic reasons in keeping with modernising our family home. The neighbours' comments are quite personal, suggesting that we acted underhand, which is completely untrue. We bought this house as it is on a beautiful plot for us and our 4 children. It has needed a lot of effort and time on it to bring it up to date, and we're trying to enjoy our time here peacefully. And can I just also mention, they complained about noise. I would be intrigued to know what the size of the window, how that would affect more noise. And the complaint they made to the council, we have received no notification of this. And can I just say, we have 4 children, so I highly doubt we would be playing highly offensive music, and it just seems a lot more personal than it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgina. Councillor Churchill.
Thank you, Chair. I was contacted about this just after the enforcement case was reported for enforcement. The agreed plan, the original plan, the applicant had standard size windows for the bathroom in the centre and 2 bedrooms on either side. Then we had the situation where it is a perception, the applicant decided to replace those 3 windows with full height patio doors, railings across them, which is the Juliet balconies, and it does look or sees that the action was planned, as was said by the other applicant, who, to be honest with you, I haven't seen the comments that the other resident made, so I'll come up with the same idea independently. Now, I would appreciate if members take the associated enforcement case into consideration. Now, moving on to the actual planning, officers state in the summary, although the rear elevation of 16 Burnett Park is visible from neighbouring properties, it is not readily visible from the public realm. But I would question why officers think neighbouring properties are not in the public realm. It seems a bit of a ridiculous comment to make. Now, I agree the patio doors may be the same width as the windows. They are 2 or 3 times the height, and it's actually sliding, but they actually would open up a much larger area rather than the windows that were agreed to originally, which would only have 2 smaller openings, if you understand what I mean, Chair. Now, under neighbour amenity officers have said new patio doors are full height, but the width and location remains unchanged from the previous approval. Although they are full height patio doors, the Juliet balcony will not allow residents to step out from the doors. This would not result in the residents being able to look further away or with wider angles. Now, I would argue that while I agree the Juliet balcony prevents stepping out, the ability to fully open the doors does give the residents the ability to look further away with a significantly wider angle. Now, the crux of this matter is do the patio doors that have been fitted, instead of the standard windows, cause an impact on neighbour amenity? I believe it does. The difference between patio doors and standard windows is like chalk and cheese. The ability to open a double door size hole in 3 places in the rear elevation in comparison to opening 6 standard size windows cannot be a fair comparison. Thus would allow residents unfettered views over my constituents' properties. Although there is no specification for obscure glazing for the middle window bathroom, I would suggest that it is not unusual to
to be installed in bathrooms. I would urge members to refuse retrospective permission and insist the original windows are fitted instead. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Questions, members? Councillor Holcote.
Okay, right. For clarification, the officer did mention opaque windows. So am I assuming that the bathroom window, the patio window, is opaque because it's a bathroom? Thank you, Chair. That's one.
I can confirm that the balustrade will be 6mm opaque glass, and it will be affixed by 25 by 25mm by 25mm stainless steel supports. So that is in that case, that's what the applicant has confirmed.
So it's opaque glass.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions, members? Debate then? Who wants to start? Councillor Garnett.
Thank you. Yeah, when I first read it, I was upset at what was happening, but I didn't understand what Juliet balcony was, because balcony, you know, you sort of step outside and you've got a view 360 degrees or whatever it is, 180 degrees, isn't it? But these are just aesthetic, aren't they? They're just almost, so you can open the doors, the kids are safe, they can't fall off from that distance. So I don't think the view to the neighbours is been altered. You know, still the top half where they can view across there. So it's only the bottom half that's been added. If you look at the way the windows are, as best you can from the plan. So I don't have a major problem with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garnett. Anybody else? Councillor Holcote.
Right, thank you, Chair. When I looked at this application, the only thing that I was concerned about was the bathroom window, but that's been answered. I couldn't see a problem with granting permission either, because you're not going to really see much further out because it's Juliet balcony and you can't lean over in that sense. If you've got children, they shouldn't be leaning over. So I did not see a problem with this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Holcote. Anybody else? Councillor Livings.
Thanks, Chair. Right. Well, when I first saw it, I thought Juliet balcony, not realising that Juliet balcony was so close to and so small that they couldn't actually open onto that, and the windows would go inwards. So my thoughts on that have changed considerably. So no, I can't see there's in too much difference with having the bigger windows and not having them, really. So yeah, I haven't got an argument with it any longer.
It does seem to be a modern design. I was walking around some of the new estates and they seem to have put them everywhere.
Oh, right.
So anyway, any other comments? In that case, I think we'll move to the vote, members. All those in favour of recommendations 1 to 3 and informatives 1 and 2 on pages 50 and 51. That is unanimously carried by the looks of it. Thank you all very much for coming. Let's just finish off the agenda. I believe it's references from other committees, which there are none, and matters of urgent business, which there are none as